suggest, my name's Patrick Den Bogaart and I'm the dealer principal here at Canberra BMW. Firstly, welcome. It's fantastic to see so many BMW enthusiasts here and certainly at Canberra BMW we haven't been able to do any functions for probably close to 2 years, obviously due to COVID, so it's actually nice to have a crowd of people in the dealership again. But, lovely to have you all here. So I thought I'd just start by telling you a little bit about us. So we started here, and that's our dealership back in 1981. So for those of you that are good at maths, we've been around for about 41 years. The dealership across the road, which some of you may have seen coming in, that's what that is. That was our mini. That's currently our mini dealership, but we operated BMW from there for about 16 or 17 years. No service facility. You had to drive for 15 minutes to the other side of town where we had a 3-bay workshop. So it was a pretty rugged situation. At the time, and I'm happy to say Mercedes was operating on this side, and that's what they looked like back then. Back in 1996, the owner of that site approached us and said, "Are you interested in buying the site?" Which we obviously did, and put a new dealership up there a few years later, which is the picture of that. Owen Rolfe, who started our group, and that was hence the name Rolfe Classic in that first slide, said to the fellow that owned this site, "Why wouldn't you sell it to the Mercedes dealer?" And basically his words were, "If he was the last person alive, I wouldn't sell it to him." So that was our good fortune, and certainly Mercedes' misfortune, and they're now in a not so nice part of town, which is fantastic. So I came here in 2006, so for all of you, I can sort of say that was E92, E93, and that'll mean something to you. That was my first launch with those models, and that was shortly followed by E70. So I've been here now for 16 years and absolutely love the brand. So the next slide shows the dealership. If Izzy moves one forward. This is essentially us now, which I did that renovation in 2008. So essentially, what we did in 2008 is pretty much what you see there. And you'll see all the solar panels on the roof, which leads me into the next topic, which is sustainability. And it'd be remiss of me not to talk briefly about sustainability because it's such a pivotal core of the BMW brand now. BMW did send me a full presentation on sustainability. I thought it would bore you to tears, so I'll keep it brief, but I don't want to belittle it because it is such an important subject. So the gentleman there, Oliver Zipsey, he's the CEO of BMW Group, and he made the statement that the greenest car will be a BMW. And I think that's a really pivotal statement because they're not just words, they're actually accountable measures with BMW as well. And he's not just talking about CO2 emissions, and we hear a lot about CO2 emissions with electrification, but it flows right through to things like the sourcing of materials, the supply chain, the whole manufacturing process. BMW use only green energy. Obviously our vehicles with their CO2 emissions, the recyclability of our vehicles, and also importantly taking a leadership position in this whole field. So one of the other slides that BMW provided me, to me the key takeout there is by 2050, which seems like a long time away, but these things are so hard to get to, but we will be carbon neutral by 2050, but then some other measures, by 2030, half of our fleet, our BMW fleet, will be all electric. And again, as I said before, what I like with BMW is they actually make statements that are measurable and that they're accountable for. So this isn't just some grandiose statement that, hey, we want to be the greenest car manufacturer. They're actually saying, this is what we're going to achieve. And I think this slide just shows nicely some of the exciting things that are going to happen in the next few years for us. But by 2025, as I said previously, half our fleet is going to be electrified. So we're going to have some fun times ahead in the next few years, and I'm really hopeful that as a dealership, we'll be able to invite our customers to some of the launch events and have the drive programs and do the sorts of things that we all love doing and showing off our brand. So the next subject is one that isn't so pleasant, but I thought it might just be relevant to talk to you a little bit about what's been happening over the last 2 years, because I've been in the car industry since the mid-90s, so I've been here for a long time, and I've never experienced anything like we've had to experience in the last 2 years. Every day is different, every day brings a new challenge, and you just sort of have to cope on the run. So obviously COVID has caused all this, and currently we're facing a massive crisis with the semiconductor situation. So COVID started this whole situation where the factories that produce the semiconductors, they lost staff when COVID hit, they had issues supplying materials, so basically production on the semiconductors dried up. Then all the OEMs, so the car manufacturers, much like BMW, were concerned what was going to happen, that people weren't going to buy their cars, so they said, hey, we're not going to fulfill our contracts, we're not going to order these semiconductors, so they basically pulled out of their contract. And then what started to happen is the large electrical companies, the Apples, the Sonys, etc., they said, hey, we'll have them, we'll have the semiconductors. So by the time the OEMs realised that people still want to buy cars, it was too late. All the supply was being taken up by these electric companies, and we're suddenly faced with this massive crisis. And the real issues now to ramp things up again, as this slide shows, it takes about 18 months to build a semiconductor factory, and it's the dollars, it's something like $10 billion to build one of these factories. So it's not as if the industry can just click their fingers and get their hands on these semiconductors. It's something that takes time. And you'll see in that box on the right that each BMW has roughly 2,000 semiconductors. Now, a 7 Series will have more than a 118i will have, but that's a lot of semiconductors in each and every car. So we're currently faced with a situation where BMW's had to make decisions. Do we build cars or stop building cars, or do we de-spec them? And so one of the solutions now has been that they've taken some of the options away from cars so that they can still manufacture cars and we can still sell cars. So that in itself has been a very difficult situation. And they say for the motor vehicle industry that in 2022, there's probably going to be a reduction of about, a loss of output of something like 4 million vehicles. So 4 million, that's just incredible. So one of the other issues, just quickly on the semiconductor side of things before I move on to what everyone loves, which is the product, is the other thing that's now exacerbated the whole situation is what's unfolding with Ukraine and Russia. And some of the parts are supplied by those countries to BMW and obviously a lot of other motor vehicle manufacturers, but one of the things, or one of the gases, neon, is used by the lasers that make the semiconductors, and Ukraine produces 70% of the world's neon. And then there's palladium is another core material that's used in manufacture of semiconductors, and I think Russia provides about a third of the world's supply of palladium. So we're already in trouble, now we're in bigger trouble. So it's a fast evolving situation, and we just have to keep monitoring. And the difficulty as a dealer, of course, is our sales team needs to be able to tell customers what's going on, which is very difficult when you're in this sort of environment. So that's my woes. Now let's talk about the good stuff, product. And that's what BMW is all about, and I think that's where the passion for BMW is our cars. So what I'll do is I'll quickly just show you some of the cars that have been launched in the last few months. So that's the 2 Series, and you can see below some of the heritage in relation to the 2 Series, and we've got the whole new 2 Series over there, which some of you may have already seen, but by all means later on go and have a look at the 2 Series. But you know, that model is a fantastic product. It's full of driving enthusiasts. It's a great looking car and we love it. If I then move on to our electric cars, so obviously our electric range started 9 years ago now with the i3, which is followed by the i8, and we now have the iX3. I don't have one on the showroom floor, but unfortunately we've closed the workshop now, but we did have one down in the workshop, so some of you may have seen that. But the X3 itself is our biggest seller, so the iX3 is our electric variant is a very pivotal car for us. It's going to be a big seller. The next car that we have, which again I can't show you, and this is all part of the issue that we have now with stock, is the i4. It's released now. Basically, I think we had 3 arrive this week. They're all sold. I still haven't driven one. I haven't had an i4 myself to be able to drive, but I'm told it's wonderful, so I'll have to take people's word for it. Then my favourite, the iX. So this car, it's we've got 2 models over there. We've got the iX40 and the iX50. It's a big car. It's an X5 size car. It's all electric. It's got the most amazing technology. It's comfortable. So I've spent some time in it now, and it's a big call, but it is my favourite BMW ever. By all means, have a look over there at the car, sit in it, you'll be very impressed. So then the stuff that's coming. So later this year, we have the all-new 7 Series, and there'll be an electric variant of that, the all-new i7. And the 7 Series is another personal favourite of mine. It's I say to my friends, it's like an old love. Whenever I hop back in the 7 Series, it just feels comfortable, it feels right. So I'm really excited about this car. And also from an armoured car perspective, and I think from a brand perspective, it's so important. The current Model 7 Series, unfortunately, they never built an armoured version of it. This new model will have an armoured version. It will come out about a year after this car's launch, so let's say late 2023. The important aspect of that is, when you now see Scott Morrison getting out of a car, he's getting out of an armoured 7 Series. We've got the Governor General, we have our diplomats overseas. So it's a really important brand shaper, and obviously around the world as well, we have dignitaries driving that car. So I think for lots of reasons that car is going to be a very important car. It's our flagship, and I think it will also be the flagship for all our technology that's coming through as well. The next one's a pretty exciting one, and I think the badge on the door says it all. M3 Touring, bring it on. It's been long overdue. There's been a lot of demand for that car, so I can't wait to see that car. This one's just a render, but it's the all-new X1, and there's going to be an iX1, and that kind of is a sweet spot in the market. It's a small SUV. I've been told by people who have seen it in the flesh that it's stunning, absolutely stunning. So I think we'll sell bucket loads of that if we can get semiconductors. Then the other car that's not too far away is, which we'll get in 2023, is the all-new 5 Series, and that's a render of the i5. So you can see with all these cars that what BMW is doing on their platforms, they're going to be building the same car in terms of as a combustion, a hybrid and an electric car on the one platform, which obviously creates economies, and that's the approach that BMW have taken, which is a very common sense one. Then one of the controversial cars, the XM concept. So initially they were talking about this as the X8. So I think this car is the end of next year, so it's not that far away. So it's coming. It's a statement piece. It's built on the X7 platform, so it's huge. 23-inch wheels. It's going to be fabulous. Interesting thing with this, and not to sound like a bit of a dick, but 3 years ago I was at a dinner in Munich, and I wasn't in Munich, it was somewhere else in Europe. I was sitting next to a gentleman that worked for BMW. I was talking to him for probably half an hour, and eventually I asked, what do you do at BMW? And that was Marcus Flash, who I think many of you will know. He was the boss of BMW M at the time. He's now the boss of BMW I, so I felt like a bit of an idiot. But he was telling me all about this car. So he was the guy that signed off on this car, and he was so excited about this car. So again, another one that I just can't wait to see. It'd be remiss of me not to mention this year is 50 years of BMW M, and Nick from BMW Australia just pointed out to me earlier that I think it's the 24th of May he's nodding his head, giving me the thumbs up, so I've got that right. 24th of May is the actual 50th anniversary. Again, I think we would have planned a lot more activities around BMW M and the 50th anniversary. Unfortunately, this little thing called COVID got in the way, and we haven't been able to celebrate perhaps as much as we would, but I'm sure hear a lot more, particularly around that May date. A few other little ones. How cool is that? So that's the Vision M Next. Now, there's been no official, yes, it's happening, but the rumours are, so I'm just saying the rumours, but the rumours are that this is going to go ahead, so fingers crossed that it does. I guess it's a little bit like an i8 successor, but it's sort of next level, so I reckon I look pretty good in that, wouldn't I? Not so much about the car, which is the BMW iVision Circular, but I've written there good times ahead. And I've sort of talked about all the negativity that, because we have had a tough time, and if I talk about Canberra, we've gone through a lot of disasters. We've had hail, we've had bushfires, we've had COVID, now we've got the uncertainty over some of the world situations. So we've had a tough time. But when we start to look at all that product, when we look at the future direction of BMW with the sustainability message and the leadership that they're showing there, as an owner in this industry, as an owner of a brand, I'm really positive about the future of BMW. I'm proud to be an investor in the brand. And from a local level as well, there's a few other things in our favour. You may have read about what's happening with Mercedes, that there's currently a very difficult situation where the dealers have got a $650 million lawsuit against Mercedes-Benz Australia around the agency agreement, so that obviously has got to be a disruptor for those guys. And we're still in a market where we have extremely strong demand for our cars. So next year it'll be interesting to see if people are still comfortable about travelling, and if they're not, and then hopefully our supply situation eases, then I think we could have a really, really strong period ahead with our product and with people really keen to buy our cars. One final thing that I just wanted to mention is Alpina, and thank you to Luke, who's mentioned to me earlier today that have you heard about Alpina? So BMW is acquiring it. So there was an announcement which I think came overnight that BMW is going to acquire, or has acquired the rights to Alpina. So it looks like Alpina will keep running as they are until 2025, at which point then BMW will take over. What that means for the brand and what that means for dealers like myself, I don't know. My personal hope is that we'll be able to distribute the brand ourselves, and perhaps as a sub-brand like a BMW i or a BMW M. So that's another exciting little thing to look forward to. So really that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say thank you very much, well, firstly for attending tonight and for listening to me. I really do hope that you get to spend some time looking around Canberra. Canberra cops a lot of flack on TV, but it's an amazing town. I've lived here for most of my life, so I do hope you get to have a look around and enjoy the sights and sounds of Canberra. And I just wanted to wish everyone well tomorrow that are showing their cards at the concourse and show and shine. So thank you all, and what I'd like to do now is welcome Luke Wise, who's the president of the BMW Car Club in Canberra.